Humans often live under a great illusion that everything will always be there. Our loved ones, love itself, health, youth, even time. We live as if we are immortal, as if the people we love will never leave, as if our bodies will never grow weak, as if we have a whole lifetime ahead to love, to forgive, and to say thank you. But life doesn't work the way we imagine, because there's one truth everyone knows, but few truly understand. Everything has an expiration date, just like a season of flowers. A flower blooms in its most beautiful moment, pure, fragrant, radiant. But only a few days later, its petals begin to wilt, its colors fade, its fragrance weakens. No one can keep a flower forever in its most perfect state. If you try to hold on, all you'll be left with is a dried flower, while its soul has already flown with the wind. Life is the same. Love, youth, parents, friends, they are all like flower seasons. They have their time to appear, to walk beside us, and eventually, to leave. I once knew a friend named Lamb. Lamb was a successful, rational person, rarely showing emotion. He was the only son in his family. His father had passed away early, leaving just his elderly mother in the countryside. She would often call or text him, sometimes just to ask simple questions like, "Have you eaten yet?" Or, "Are you tired today?" Lamb often replied briefly, sometimes even irritably, "I'm really busy, Mom." Gradually his responses became less frequent, and then silence. He assumed his mother would always be there. There would always be time to call her back. There would always be a chance to visit. What he needed to do now was build his career, become successful, so he could take care of her later. Then one day, Lamb got a call from a neighbor. His mother had suffered a stroke and was rushed to the hospital. He dropped everything and rushed back. But it was too late. She had passed away after a long cardiac arrest. By the time he arrived, all that was left was a cold body and a peaceful face he hadn't seen one last time while she was alive. At the funeral, he stood like a man lost in a dream. No tears, no words. It wasn't until he opened his phone and saw dozens of unread messages, missed calls, that the tears finally fell. He whispered, "Mom, if only I had replied sooner. If only I had come home just a little earlier. If only I hadn't believed that you would always be there." Lamb isn't the first to live with such regret, and he won't be the last, because so many of us are living with the belief that the ones we love will always be there, that each day is another chance to love, to make up for lost time, to start over. But in reality, life waits for no one. The ancients said it well. Each day we live is a day borrowed. We borrow from this life. Breath is not ours. As long as we can still breathe, we are still alive. The body is not ours. It changes every day, cell by cell. Our loved ones are not ours. They come into our lives as temporary companions. No one can stay with us forever. Yet we live as if everything belongs to us, as if we have the right to postpone love. We are busy with work, preoccupied with trivial matters, and forget the things that truly matter most. One day you will understand, the most precious thing is not money, not success, but the people who are still living beside you, your parents, your partner, your children, your friends. And even more precious is the present moment, the place where you can still do something before it's too late. Don't wait until it's gone to realize its value. Don't wait until your loved one is lying down forever to come and weep by their side. Don't wait until you can no longer hear their familiar voice to realize you never truly listened. Don't wait until a seat is empty at the dinner table to realize how precious those seemingly ordinary meals once were. Live as if today is the last day you can say "I love you," not to feel sadness, but to live fully. Whatever has appeared will one day disappear. Meeting is destiny. Separation is normal. So don't wait until you lose something to cherish it. Cherish it while you still have it. Practice living like someone who is awake, not asleep among the love that's just waiting to be recognized. There's one thing that most of us don't want to think about, that all of our most beloved ones, one day, they too will leave. No one lives forever. No one can stay by our side for our whole lives. Not our parents, our partner, our children, not even ourselves. It's a truth that seems like everyone knows, but very few truly live with the awareness that every day together is a blessing. Once I met a woman in her 70s at a tea meditation session at the temple. She wore a simple gray robe, her face was kind, but her eyes carried a deep sadness. After the tea, she came to me and asked softly, "Master, is there a way to forget regret?" I paused for a moment, sat down with her, and listened. She shared that her husband had passed away just 3 months ago. He was a gentle and quiet man. For more than 40 years of marriage, she often scolded him for being clumsy, for being too quiet, for being forgetful. Sometimes it was just small things, like forgetting to buy vegetables or spilling water, and she would raise her voice. She thought it was normal. They were husband and wife after all. Everyone gets irritated sometimes. Then one day her husband collapsed in the bathroom. A stroke. No final words. No parting message. Do you know what the first thing I thought of was when he passed? She choked up. I wished I had spoken less, been less angry, hugged him just one more time. When someone leaves us, what remains in the heart of the one left behind is not grand gifts or big gestures, but the small things that were left undone. A simple apology never spoken, a hug still held back, a dinner that never happened. We always think, there's still time, tomorrow, next time, when I'm less busy. But the truth is, impermanence doesn't make appointments. Contemplate this body as impermanent. What has come together will fall apart. What has appeared will disappear. To practice the spiritual path is not to escape loss, but to learn how to face impermanence with an awakened heart. Those who understand impermanence don't live in despair, nor do they live detached. They live more deeply, love more fully, forgive more easily, and cherish every moment shared with their loved ones. There is a great paradox in life. The most important things are often the ones we forget the most. We focus our minds on big things, work, achievements, social connections, but forget the simple meal with family. We remember meeting schedules and business plans, but forget our mother's birthday. We track our salaries and investment numbers, but don't remember the last time we sat quietly beside our father. Those things, small, familiar, ordinary, we take for granted, but they are the most precious. Because once they're gone, those ordinary things become what we can never have again. I once went on a charity trip to a remote village. There was a boy about 9 years old, dark-skinned, thin. He handed me a sweet potato and said, "My mom boiled this for me this morning to eat in the afternoon, but I want to give it to you." I asked, "Why don't you save it for your mother?" He smiled innocently. "Mom said she already ate, but I know she didn't. She does that every day." Hearing that, my heart sank. A sweet potato, to me, was nothing, but to that boy, and to his mother, it was everything. Love, sacrifice, selflessness. I thought about all the mothers and fathers out there, living quietly in our lives. They don't ask for much. They don't show off. They simply care, worry, and love us through the smallest things. A glass of water left ready on the table, a pair of socks washed clean every week, a home-cooked meal with the dish we love. These things we easily overlook, easily see as ordinary until one day they're no longer there. What we call too ordinary, people often chase after something grand, a luxurious vacation, an expensive gift, an intense feeling. But life doesn't reside in faraway places. It lives in the little things we receive each day, but fail to recognize. A Zen master once said, "The most precious things in life are not the rare ones, but the ones that are present every day. We just haven't been awake enough to see them." That saying has rung like a bell to awaken me, time and time again. Each time I feel sad, lonely, or disappointed, I sit down, take a deep breath, and look around. Am I forgetting something truly precious? Coming back doesn't mean giving up modern life. It means returning, to recognize the things that are quietly nourishing our soul. Returning to see that the meal mom cooks is not just food, but love. Returning and to realize that the question, "Are you doing well?" is not a nuisance, but a sign of care. returning and to see that the laughter of a child is not noise but vibrant joy. In each person's life, there are losses that time cannot heal. There are things once they pass that no amount of money, regret, or prayer can ever bring back. A father once told me, "My son died in an accident. He was only 17. I had promised to take him traveling, to spend more time with him. But I kept working. I kept thinking, later. But now there's no later anymore." His voice sank, as if carrying the weight of 100 silent storms. I cried for a whole year, not just because my son was gone, but because I knew the days when I could hug him, hear his laugh, talk with him, would never come back again. There are things in life we think will have a second chance, but in truth, they only happen once. Your child's childhood, your parents' good health, the first time your child calls you dad or mom, the day you graduate, get married, have a child. Those moments, they don't repeat. Once they pass, they live only in memory. If you are fully present in that moment, it becomes a beautiful memory. If not, it becomes regret. An elderly woman, over 80 years old, once shared, "The day my father died, I was just a 9-year-old girl. I still remember clearly. He took me to the market, bought me a new pair of sandals, then patted my head and said, 'My daughter is growing up so fast.' But I didn't know that would be the last time I ever heard his voice." As she spoke, her clouded eyes shimmered with tears. 70 years had passed, yet in her heart, that image remained whole. Because there are things that, once lost, never return and never fade away. A Zen master once said, "There are 3 things that never come back: an arrow that has been shot, a word that has been spoken, and a moment that has passed." That is why those who live mindfully do not let themselves drift away in indifference. They are present. They observe. They live more slowly in order to live more deeply. Because they know, every day a child still calls them dad or mom is a miracle. Every shared meal with their parents is a rare occasion. Every time they can still hold the hand of someone they love is a moment not to be missed. There is a paradox in life. People are often busy chasing grand things: fame, money, success, status, but forget the simple and present things that quietly make up happiness each day. We often think that only when we achieve something big can we be happy. When we have a beautiful house, a luxury car, a stable job, an ideal partner, a fulfilled life, only then will we find peace. But true happiness does not lie in the future. It lies in the small things that are present, right in this very moment. I once met a middle-aged man, the owner of a large business. He told me that it took him nearly 20 years to build what he has today. But during those 20 years, he never had a full meal with his family, never once took his children to school, never once walked with his wife at sunset. When he finally stopped and looked back, everything had changed. His children had grown up and moved away. His wife, though still beside him, had grown distant in her heart. He told me, "I have everything, but I lost the things that mattered most." That is a very honest sentence, but also a very painful one, because happiness is not a destination, but the ability to recognize and be grateful for what we already have. A meal with every family member present, a morning waking up next to the one you love, a surprise hug from your child, a rainy afternoon sitting by the window with a cup of hot tea, an evening together, telling old stories and laughing like in the days of hardship. Those things, seemingly small, are actually the essence of a happy life. Many people spend their whole lives searching for a sense of peace without realizing that peace is when your parents are still alive, your children are still healthy, your loved ones are still sitting beside you. Those things can't be bought with money. They can't wait until we're successful, and they can't be kept unless we cherish them starting right now. There's a story I once heard from a Zen master. A disciple asked his teacher, "Master, how can I know if I am happy?" The master remained silent, then pointed to the bowl of rice he was eating and said, "Do you feel thankful for this bowl of rice?" The disciple was surprised. "But it's just an ordinary bowl of rice, master." The master smiled. "That is exactly why you are not yet happy." That story made me reflect deeply. Because in truth, life brings us things to be grateful for every single day. but we overlook them simply because they feel too familiar. We never know when it will be the last time we hear a familiar voice, the last time we touch a beloved hand, the last time we say I'm sorry or thank you. So why do we keep postponing love? Why do we wait until we have time to show we care? Why don't we love right now while we still can? A message to check in only takes a few seconds. A phone call only needs a few minutes. A hug, a compliment, a smile requires no preparation at all. But if we don't do these things, they may become the regrets that haunt us for the rest of our lives. Someone once asked me, "Master, I love my father very much, but I never told him. Now he's gone. What should I do?" I replied, "Live with that love every day. Say it to the others, the ones who are still here. Don't let love become just a memory. While we are still alive, let us love one another. Don't wait until someone is on the altar to light the incense. Love does not wait. Filial piety should not begin only when our parents grow old and weak. Caring should not be saved just for special occasions. A mindful person is someone who expresses love while it is still present. People often carry a quiet belief that what they have now is permanent. We get used to waking up each morning with loved ones nearby, having 3 meals a day, having legs to walk, eyes to see, and breath flowing in and out smoothly. Because all of it happens so often, we start to see it as ordinary. Until one day, when one of those things is gone, we are shocked to realize we were once so full. I once had a friend named Tri. He used to have a happy family, a gentle wife, well-behaved children, a stable job. But Tree always felt it wasn't enough. He often compared himself to his friends. That guy has a house on the main street, a brand new car, and I have nothing yet. His wife often said, "I think having each other, good health, and good children is enough." But Tree scoffed. "You don't understand. A man needs to have achievements." Then one day an accident happened. On a business trip, the car overturned. Tree survived but lost his ability to walk. Half of his body was paralyzed, and he had to lie in bed for nearly a year. When I came to visit, Tree just silently stared out the window. Sometime later he said to me, "Back then I had everything, but I didn't know it. Now I just wish I could stand up and walk to the bathroom by myself. That would already be happiness." Fulfillment isn't when you have a lot, but when you know how to appreciate. There are people who live in a small house but have a wide and open heart. There are people who eat plain rice but find it delicious because someone they love is sitting beside them. There are people who have nothing special but live in peace, without competition, without comparison, and that is true fulfillment. Then there are people who have everything and still feel lacking because their heart is never satisfied, and only when they lose something precious, health, loved ones, affection, do they break down and realize they once had so much. Only after losing do we see the value. That is the nature of the unawakened. But to value it while still having it, that is the way of the awakened. The awakened don't wait until everything disappears to look back. They live with clarity, feeling each thing that is present, no matter how small, how ordinary it may be. A bowl of good rice, a gentle rain, an evening gathering, a simple sentence, "Dad, I'm home." All of these are blessings. Nothing is small when seen through the eyes of gratitude. There is one thing that becomes clearer the longer we live. The most precious gift we can give one another is not money, not possessions, not promises, but wholehearted presence. In a world full of distractions, phones, work, social media, deadlines, people are increasingly lacking true presence. Though we sit together, our minds are elsewhere. Though we share a meal, our eyes are glued to the screen. Though we live in the same house, sometimes a whole week goes by without a real conversation. I once visited an elderly father living alone in the countryside. He had 2 children, both successful in the city. Every New Year they would send him money, gifts, even hire someone to take care of him. But he said, "I don't lack anything except them." Then he quietly added, "Each year they visit me twice, but they only stay for a few hours, take some pictures to post on Facebook, then leave. When I talk, they're busy on the phone. When I make tea, they're rushing off to meet friends. I see them, but it's like they're not really here." That sentence was like a silent, cold blade. because he didn't need more material things. He just needed someone to be truly present. A child who would sit down, look him in the eye, and listen to the story he's told 1,000 times. Being present is an art of love. To be truly present means when your child tells you a story, you put down your phone, look them in the eye, and smile. When your mother is cooking, you stand beside her, lend a hand, ask her a few questions. When meeting up with friends, instead of taking check-in photos, try asking, "How have you really been lately?" Sometimes we don't need to do anything grand. Just being sincerely present is already a priceless gift for the other person. There are many people who, even as adults, can't forget the feeling of parents constantly being absent. A father always busy with work, never playing with his child. A mother often irritable from pressure, with no time to listen. A family under the same roof, but no one truly understanding one another. These children grow up with hearts that feel lacking, not because of a lack of money, but because of a missing hug, a simple question, an afternoon spent sitting together. And then when they become adults, they repeat the same thing with their own children, unless they awaken. The teaching of Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh. The greatest gift you can offer to your loved one is your true presence. When you are present, you offer yourself undivided. And that is what our loved ones need the most. Not gifts on special occasions, but our presence in the most ordinary moments. When we've gone through a full circle of losses, regrets, and irreversible things, what remains deeply in our hearts is the lesson of mindfulness, to cherish what we have while it's still here so we don't regret when it's gone. That is when we no longer live with empty promises. "I'll call tomorrow. I'll come home this weekend. We'll meet another time." But we live through action, call today, hug today, listen today. A middle-aged woman once came to me during a retreat. She shared that she had held resentment toward her mother for many years because her mother was often strict, judgmental, and hurtful with careless words. She had been angry with her mother for 3 years, never called, never visited, never spoke to her. Then one day she received the news that her mother had passed away. Suddenly, no final words, no chance to make amends. She burst into tears. "Master, I just wish I had forgiven her sooner. I wish I had set aside my pride to say just one sentence. Mom, I love you." To appreciate is a form of mindfulness. Mindfulness is not about becoming a monk, not about reading scriptures, not about leaving life behind. Mindfulness is when you see your mother washing the dishes and feel grateful that she's still here. You hear your partner complaining and understand they are still choosing to stay by your side. You see your father sitting quietly in the corner and walk over just to sit silently next to him for a few minutes. These things, they may seem small, but once they're gone, you would wish to do them again, even just once. Live a life without regret. You cannot keep everyone with you forever. You cannot hold on to your health, your youth, or everything you love. But you can live in a way that when those things do leave, you won't have blame, guilt, or regret, because you lived with complete love, because you did not wait. The great matter in life is not how many years you live, but how many years you live without regret. A person who lives long hasn't necessarily lived deeply. A person who lives wealthy hasn't necessarily lived fully, but a person who cherishes what they have, every moment of their life is eternal. Don't wait until it's gone to appreciate. Appreciate while it's still here, so you can live without regret when it's gone. Life is a series of meetings and partings. We cannot change that, but we can choose how we live, so that each meeting becomes a gift and each farewell, a peaceful goodbye. Please live as if today is the first day and also the last. No regrets, no remorse, only deep gratitude for the chance to have lived.